Stage yellow, the world of systems, flexibility, and freedom. Welcome to stage yellow. There comes a point in your journey where the old maps stop working. The rules you once followed no longer feel relevant. The systems you once built now feel rigid. The beliefs you once defended now feel incomplete. Not wrong, just partial. That's the quiet arrival of stage yellow. The first step into tier 2 consciousness. Yellow doesn't come with a bang, it comes with a breath. A soft realization that all perspectives have a place and that life is far more complex, beautiful, and interconnected than we were taught to believe. This is the stage of the systems thinker, the integrator, the coach who's no longer attached to being right, but deeply committed to what works. It's the consciousness of synthesis, where paradoxes are not problems, but portals. Yellow isn't just more knowledge, it's a new relationship with knowledge. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to defend your identity. You're finally free to see the bigger picture. And more importantly, you're free to move through it with grace. Welcome to stage yellow, the rarest air in the spiral. Let's explore what it is, how it develops, and how to embody it in your work, your leadership, and your life. The core values of yellow. Yellow sees the world as a web of interconnected systems. It doesn't fixate on surface level symptoms. It wants to understand root causes. It doesn't pick sides. It transcends and includes. It doesn't seek power, approval, or even harmony. It seeks functional elegance. Here are the values that shape yellow. Flexibility. There's no single right way. Context determines the path. Systems thinking. Everything is connected. Change one part, you change the whole. Integration. Yellow weaves together truths from all previous stages without getting stuck in any of them. Function over form. It's not about what looks right, it's about what works sustainably and holistically. Self-authorship. Yellow no longer borrows its worldview from culture, religion, or tradition. It builds its own constantly evolving lens. Curiosity without agenda. Yellow doesn't need to convert you. It's deeply curious about how you came to believe what you believe. Yellow doesn't see life as black or white, right or wrong, better or worse. It sees layers, contexts, causes, conditions, energetics. Where blue worships the law, red worships the self, and green worships feelings, yellow simply asks, what's true here? This makes yellow powerful and also misunderstood. To most of the spiral, yellow feels slippery. It doesn't take sides, it doesn't react emotionally, it doesn't need to be seen. But make no mistake, yellow is not neutral. Yellow is precise. It sees reality with depth, and it moves from conscious design, not conditioned reaction. How yellow develops in the individual. Yellow doesn't arrive quickly or easily. It's not a stage you hustle your way into. You don't achieve yellow like a milestone. You grow into it, often through a series of ego deaths, disillusions, and paradigm shifts. Yellow tends to emerge only after the individual has deeply explored the earlier stages, especially orange and green. Here's how the journey often unfolds. Orange burnout. A high-achieving individual reaches success by orange standards, money, growth, recognition, but still feels a profound emptiness. They start asking deeper questions. Is this really it? What's the cost of this pace? What if success isn't always the answer? The strategies that once worked begin to feel hollow. Life becomes more than goals, gains. Something deeper is calling. The Green Awakening. They discover empathy, inclusion, emotional truth. They learn to slow down and feel. They join communities that value depth over performance. They may also bump into green's shadows. Endless consensus seeking, idealism without implementation, emotional overwhelm, disdain for structure or hierarchy. This leads to a new dilemma. How do we care deeply and still get things done? The integration threshold. Yellow emerges at the moment someone realizes every stage is both right and limited. They stop fighting the spiral. They begin to see the evolutionary logic behind each stage, not from agreement, from awareness. Yellow doesn't demonize orange for being a capitalist. It doesn't ridicule blue for being rigid. It doesn't dismiss red for being egoic. It asks, what is the function of this stage? What need is it solving? How can I build upon it, not reject it? That's when self-authorship begins. Signs you're entering yellow. You find yourself genuinely fascinated by opposing perspectives without trying to change them. You don't need to be right. You want to be real. You can zoom out and see patterns in how people behave without judgment. You sense you've been many versions of yourself before and hold them all with compassion. You value growth over comfort and wisdom over approval. Yellow is a turning point in human development, the first stage of Tier 2, where the individual becomes a conscious participant in evolution itself. It's not the top of the ladder, it's the start of a new one. Language of stage yellow. Language at stage yellow is unlike any previous stage. It isn't about control like blue or persuasion like orange or emotional resonance like green. Yellow's language is about integration, precision, and perspective. It's not about always being the loudest voice in the room, but often the most insightful. Key traits of yellow language. Systemic. Yellow sees patterns, not just points. It speaks in models, frameworks, and interrelationships. Non-absolute. Rarely uses words like always or never. Instead, it leans into nuance, often in some contexts, dependent on. It's curious, asks more questions than it answers, not to appear wise, but because it genuinely wants to understand. Meta-awareness. Yellow speaks with an awareness of how language shapes perception. It uses words intentionally. Words that resonate with yellow. Integration, systems thinking, multiple truths, meta perspective, pattern recognition, evolutionary context, emergent complexity, nonlinear growth. These words signal that the speaker isn't trapped in binary thinking. Yellow loves multi-dimensional awareness, not as a flex, but as a compass. Words that dull yellow's interests. Right versus wrong without nuance. Just do it. Oversimplified motivation. Everyone needs this. No awareness of context. Disrupt the system when it's performative, not purposeful. You're either with us or against us. Tribal language. Yellow doesn't reject simplicity, it builds it from complexity. It doesn't value cleverness, it values clarity earned through depth. How to speak to yellow or from it. Speak slowly, not in pace, in depth. Let ideas unfold instead of stacking slogans. Use stories that reveal systems, not just moments. A story isn't just a tale, it's a lens. Holding opposing ideas at once. Yellow respects contradiction when it leads to a higher synthesis. Remove the need to win. Yellow doesn't speak to conquer, it speaks to connect and elevate. Yellow is the first stage where language becomes less about what is said and more about what is sensed beneath the words. It's not about performance, it's about coherence. Yellow in society. Yellow is rare. Not because people can't reach it, but because society isn't designed to reward it. In most systems, power is gained through conformity, blue, achievement in orange, or empathy in green. Yellow doesn't reject these systems, it simply sees their limitations, and that makes yellow harder to categorize, monetize, or control. Where yellow does appear, you'll find glimpses of yellow in visionary leaders who quietly influence systems behind the scenes, think tanks and innovation hubs solving cross-disciplinary problems, reintegrative businesses blending profit with planetary intelligence, Coaches and educators who guide people across multiple developmental stages without attachment to one. Open source communities where decentralization is a feature, not a flaw. Yellow tends to thrive in liminal spaces between the lines of identity, politics, and industry. It's less interested in who's in charge and more focused on what works across time and scale. Yellow in action, real-world examples. Buckminster Fuller, designing geodesic domes and systems thinking models long before they were trendy. Elon Musk, at times, playing with first principles and scalable solutions, though he also cycles into red and orange as well. Ken Wilber, mapping human consciousness across multiple dimensions and quadrants. Indigenous wisdom keepers who integrate natural rhythms and cosmic perspectives beyond linear time. Notice these are not popular heroes, they're pivotal ones. Yellow's role in the larger spiral. Yellow isn't here to lead revolutions. It's here to upgrade the operating systems of culture, business, and consciousness. It doesn't demand attention. It builds the frameworks that make the future possible, often invisibly. Yellow knows that evolution is inevitable, but integration is a choice. Most people won't see yellow, but they'll feel the effects of its work in the systems that are making more sense and more space for everyone. The gifts of yellow. Yellow is the first stage on the spiral that transcends the ego. It no longer needs to win, prove, or belong. It needs to understand, serve, and integrate. This shift unlocks some of the most powerful gifts in human development. Gifts that make yellow the backbone of conscious leadership, sustainable systems, and scalable transformation. Deep systems thinking. Yellow sees life as a web, not as a ladder. It doesn't just zoom in, it zooms out, seeing connections across economics, biology, technology, psychology, and spirituality. It asks, how does this fit into the bigger picture? What's the second order effect of this choice? What happens if we remove the ego and follow the pattern? This kind of thinking doesn't just create better strategies, it creates better civilizations. Non-attachment to identity. Yellow isn't fused with a label. It can move fluidly between roles, teacher, student, leader, listener, without attachment or egoic reactivity. This makes yellow adaptable, resilient, and untriggered by status games. It's not here to be someone. It's here to build something meaningful. Integration of all stages. Yellow doesn't fight previous stages. It honors them. It respects the structure of blue. It utilizes the drive of orange. It welcomes the heart of green, and it even acknowledges the power of red. Yellow doesn't see these stages as wrong or outdated, just incomplete without integration. That's what makes yellow whole. It isn't better, it's broader. Liberation from false urgency. While orange is hustling and green is harmonizing, yellow is asking, what actually matters over the next 50 years? It works in decades, not days, and it's deeply uninterested in short-term wins that lead to long-term damage. This patience isn't passive, it's strategic. Yellow is here to play the long game and to win for everyone. Leadership without control. Yellow leads from clarity, not coercion. It builds influence through coherence, not charisma. It doesn't need followers. It builds frameworks. It doesn't need dependency. It creates sovereignty. It doesn't demand alignment. It becomes a field people naturally align to. Yellow is not the loudest voice in the room, but it's the one everyone turns to when the old voices stop making sense. The shadows of yellow. For all of yellow's brilliance, it isn't immune to distortion. Every stage on the spiral has a shadow, and yellow's is subtler but just as real. Because yellow sees so much, it can start to detach too much. It can become aloof, overly intellectual, or even arrogant in its non-attachment. Let's break down the key shadows. Intellectual elitism. Yellow system thinking can evolve into superiority. Because it sees how limited other perspectives are, it can unconsciously belittle them. And it might sound like they don't get it, or I don't have time to explain it to them. I've transcended that drama. But here's the truth. Wisdom without humility is just another form of ego. Yellow isn't above the spiral. But here's the truth. Wisdom without humility is just another form of ego. Yellow isn't above the spiral. It's meant to weave it together. Overanalysis and paralysis. With so many variables and perspectives in mind, yellow can fall into analysis paralysis. It may delay decisions, waiting for the perfect systems view, avoid choosing sides to stay above conflict, get lost in mapping, theorizing, or refining. Yellow must remember, clarity is not the absence of complexity, it's the ability to move within it. Avoidance of emotion. Yellow can fall into the trap of excessive logic. Having transcended green's emotional reactivity, yellow may begin to distrust emotion altogether. This often results in dismissing emotional concerns as lower level drama, struggling to form deep emotional bonds, using language that feels cold, detached, or clinical. But without emotional depth, yellow loses humanity. Integration requires heart, not just head. Bypassing leadership responsibility. Yellow doesn't want to be the guru. It dislikes authority roles and avoids hierarchy. But sometimes this creates a shadow, failing to step into leadership even when it's needed, withholding insight because everyone must find their own truth, refusing to intervene in chaos to avoid being seen as controlling. Yellow must remember the world doesn't need just thinkers, it needs builders. And sometimes leadership isn't about ego, it's about service. Too future focused. Because yellow is always seeing long-term systems and abstract horizons, it can disconnect from the present. It may struggle with being in the moment, relating to immediate needs, taking simple joy in being. Yellow must integrate with embodiment. Otherwise, it becomes a floating intellect, brilliant but ungrounded. Yellow's challenge isn't to think more, it's to feel, act, serve, and simplify without losing depth. Yellow in business and coaching. Yellow doesn't follow the playbook, it redesigns the game. Often while silently sitting in the back of the room, in business, yellow is the strategist who sees the whole field. In coaching, it's the mentor who empowers rather than directs. Let's break it down. How yellow shows up in business. Yellow doesn't obsess over vanity metrics, funnels, or hacks. It focuses on integrated systems and long-term leverage. Typical yellow expressions in business include designing systems that self-evolve, building modular business models that adapt to change, creating new categories or paradigms that redefine the market. Yellow business is principled, not trendy. It may appear slow from the outside, but it's compounding intelligence at scale. It's the architect behind the curtain, not the influencer on stage. Yellow in coaching. Yellow coaches don't sell formulas. They help clients develop their own internal operating system. Traits of a yellow coach. Uses multiple models without attachment to anyone. Honors every spiral stage and meets the clients where they are. Helps clients make meaning, not just money. Facilitates metacognition. What are you noticing about how you're thinking? Instead of saying, here's what to do, yellow asks, what's the deeper pattern driving your decision? It teaches people how to think, not what to think. Messaging to yellow clients. If you're marketing to yellow, avoid hype. They can smell manipulation from a mile away. What does land? Deep frameworks with nuance, respectful dialogue, not one-sided persuasion. Opportunities for collaboration and contribution. Invitations to evolve systems, not just participate in them. Speak to their identity as integrators, guides, and builders of what's next. Yellow wants to serve, not because it needs validation, but because it sees what's possible and can't not contribute. Scaling with yellow principles. Many of today's most innovative leaders, often labeled as visionary disruptors, are secretly operating from yellow. They build cultures that evolve without them. They measure success in impact across time, not likes or launches. They attract teams aligned not by perks but by principles. Yellow builds systems where growth is not a byproduct of integrity. Yellow builds systems where growth is a byproduct of integrity, not hustle, not pressure, not branding, just alignment, clarity, purposeful momentum. How Yellow views other stages. How Yellow views other stages. Yellow doesn't look down on other colors. It looks through them with empathy and precision. It understands that every stage is doing its best from its worldview, but that doesn't mean it agrees with all of them. Let's explore how Yellow perceives the spiral. Beige, necessary for survival. Yellow sees beige as the base code of humanity, the stage of raw instinct and primal needs. It holds no judgment here, just awareness. Yellow knows without safety and physiological security, no other transformation is possible. Beige reminds Yellow that every big idea rests on biology. Red, vital energy misdirected. Yellow sees red as powerful and volatile. It recognizes the drive, charisma, and rebellion, but also the danger of unchecked ego. Rather than resisting red, Yellow seeks to channel it. It reframes red's defiance into agency, its aggression into leadership, its chaos into creative potential. Yellow asks, how do we bring structure to passion without killing the fire? Blue, order is beautiful until it's weaponized. Yellow respects blue for its discipline and devotion. It sees the value in systems, ethics, and moral codes, but also sees how rigid loyalty can lead to blind obedience. Yellow often engages blue with gentle curiosity. Who decided this was the right way? What happens if that rule no longer serves? Is the system sacred or is the purpose sacred? It doesn't fight blue. It invites blue to grow its definition of truth. Orange, brilliant execution, narrow lens. Yellow sees orange as an elite performer, but often trapped in its own game. It appreciates the drive, the intelligence, the systems thinking, but also sees how it gets seduced by endless optimization, comparison as motivation, winning as identity. Yellow doesn't shame orange, it expands it. It invites orange to measure more than money, to define success more holistically, and to realize that the next level isn't always up. Sometimes it's deeper. Green, your heart is in the right place, but you're drowning in it. Yellow honors green's compassion, equality, and human-centered values. It sees green as the great harmonizer, the necessary antidote to orange's individualism, but it also sees where green gets stuck, over-democratizing every decision, losing clarity in a sea of emotion, refusing hierarchy even when it's useful. Yellow steps in with clarity, not dominance. It says, we need your heart, but let's pair it with structure. Let's ground your empathy in action. Yellow, self-awareness is not the destination, it's the beginning. Yellow knows its trap is intellectual detachment. It sees the whole system and risks standing outside it, above it, rather than in it. That's why mature Yellow returns to service, not as sacrifice, but as expression. Yellow whispers to itself, knowing is not enough. Let me build something that matters. In short, Yellow sees the spiral as a symphony. Each stage plays a part. Yellow doesn't try to change the instrument, it helps tune it. The thresholds of Yellow. If every stage of the spiral before Yellow is a climb, then Yellow is the moment you stop climbing and realize there is no mountain. Just terrain, just perspectives, just patterns and paradoxes to navigate. But even Yellow has thresholds, tests of maturity that determine whether someone is merely thinking Yellow or truly living it. Threshold 1. From intellectual awareness to embodied integration. It's easy to understand spiral dynamics. It's much harder to live it. This is the first great test of Yellow. Many coaches, leaders, and change makers get stuck here. They can explain every color, they can map motivation and decode behavior, but they haven't integrated what they know. Yellow asks, are you being the system you wish to evolve? Until the spiral lives in your nervous systems, not just on your slides, you haven't crossed that line. Threshold 2, from frustration to compassion. It's easy to get angry at red's recklessness, blue's rigidity, or orange's obsession with achievement. But yellow knows anger is a sign you have forgotten their story. This threshold asks, can you hold compassion for every stage without rescuing it? Can you see dysfunction as developmental? Can you coach without condescension? Mature yellow doesn't project superiority. It meets people where they are, then walks with them toward the next stage. Threshold 3, from complexity to clarity. Yellow is the land of maps, systems, integrative models, and nested hierarchies. It can get drunk on nuance, addicted to both and, paralyzed by analysis. At this stage, the challenge becomes, can you translate complexity into action? Wisdom doesn't mean saying more. It means saying less, but with more precision. Crossing this threshold means becoming a simplifier of truth, not a curator of complexity. Threshold 4, from sovereignty to synarchy. Yellow is deeply sovereign. It doesn't follow authority blindly. It resists ideology. It values inner alignment above external approval. But sovereignty without connection becomes loneliness. That's why mature yellow moves towards synarchy, a state where leaders co-create from shared consciousness, not hierarchy or ego. This threshold tests your capacity to collaborate without losing identity. It asks, can we build something together that none of us could create alone? Threshold 5, from identity to function. Yellow doesn't need titles. Its power doesn't come from being the smartest in the room. It comes from being the most useful. This is the final threshold. Are you still seeking recognition? Or are you ready to be the invisible architect? Yellow leadership often moves behind the scenes. It becomes function, not form. It asks, what is needed now? And how can I serve that? Not for credit, not for applause, just because it's what the moment asks for. Crossing the threshold of yellow doesn't make you special. It makes you capable. Capable of seeing without judging, of acting without needing credit, of leading without needing control. And that is what prepares you for the final ascent. How to coach and communicate from yellow. Coaching from yellow is less about giving answers and more about building altitude. You don't just shift beliefs, you shift the frame. You don't just set goals, you reveal patterns. You don't just help people take action, you help them understand the system they're acting within. This makes yellow one of the most potent yet least understood coaching orientations on the spiral. Yellow coaches read the map before the method. Yellow doesn't just jump straight into a 10-step framework. It starts by asking, what stage is this person operating from? What stage is the system they're inside of? What would change if the environment evolved instead of the individual? Yellow knows context shapes behavior, so instead of fixing the person, it redesigns the ecosystem. Yellow coaching is developmental, not just tactical. Orange coaching is based on goals, KPIs, and scaling. Green coaching is focused on emotions, values, and inclusivity. But yellow coaching zooms out and asks, what stage of development is the client operating from? And what's the next evolution available to them? That's where transformation begins. Not by pushing harder at orange, not by staying stuck at green, but by unlocking the code beneath the coaching. Yellow uses language like a tuning fork. Words matter, but yellow doesn't use language to impress. It uses language to reveal. When coaching from yellow, your vocabulary shifts from fixing to emerging, from problems to patterns, from goals to growth edges, from answers to perspective. Clients don't leave with an aha moment, they leave with elevated perception. Yellow is comfortable in the in-between. Other stages want certainty. Yellow holds ambiguity. That means yellow coaches sit with the unanswerable. Hold space without needing a conclusion. Invite curiosity instead of control. You don't need to rescue your clients from discomfort. You help them relate to it differently. This is what makes yellow coaching feel like alchemy. It transmutes complexity into clarity without reducing the depth. Yellow leads without ego. Yellow is not the guru. Yellow is the guide. It's not about being the expert. It's about being in service to emergence. That means you don't need to be right. You don't cling to being seen as the authority. You're willing to be invisible if it helps the system evolve. As a yellow coach, your presence becomes the intervention. Clients don't just learn from your content, they entrain to your way of seeing. In practice, coaching a client through spiral transitions. Let's say you're coaching a client transition from orange to green. A green coach might validate their feelings. An orange coach might push them to optimize their next move. But a yellow coach might say, it sounds like your success model is breaking down. Not because you're failing, but because you're outgrowing the game you were playing. Or if someone is breaking down in blue, what would it mean to honor your integrity and explore a new truth without betraying either? Yellow doesn't force a breakthrough, it builds a bridge. Yellow coaching isn't about your method, it's about your meta-awareness. You become the lens that helps others see their map more clearly. And from that place, transformation happens naturally, integratively, and with deep respect for the whole. The future belongs to the integrated. Most people climb the spiral like a ladder, stage by stage, striving to leave behind what came before. But yellow sees the spiral for what it truly is. Not a ladder, but a helix. Not a hierarchy, but a harmony. The goal isn't to reject the past, it's to integrate every color into a more expansive self. We carry every stage within us. You still have Beige's survival instinct. You still carry purple's loyalty to tribe. You still accesses red's fire, blue's order, orange's ambition, and green's empathy. Maturity is not about graduating from the lower levels. It's about knowing when to access each and how to do so consciously. The integrated coach doesn't live at one stage. They dance across the spiral with awareness. Integration over identification. The future of leadership, coaching, and human development isn't stage yellow. It's spiral fluidity. The ability to meet a stage red leader with a strength and command. Hold space for a blue stage team with structure and certainty. Sell to an orange audience with a clarity and precision. Honor a green collective with empathy and inclusion without losing yourself in any of them. That's the essence of integration. To use the stage without being used by it. The world needs spiral literate leaders. We are in a global clash of worldviews. Blue is trying to preserve order, red is rising in rebellion, green is pushing for justice, orange is scaling at speed, and most people are yelling past each other, not realizing they're speaking different languages of consciousness. What does the world need? Not louder arguments, not better content, but coaches, leaders, and communicators who can translate between worlds. You. Yellow isn't the final stage. It's the first truly conscious one. From beige to green, most of development is reactive. Survival, power, order, achievement, connection. Each new stage arises to solve the problems of the one before, but yellow is the first stage that sees the game. It no longer needs to be right, validated, or seen. It no longer fights the other colors, it includes them. It's not driven by ego, it's guided by essence. This is where conscious change begins. This is where leadership transcends strategy and becomes art. The integrated coach is the future of transformation. The market is tired of shallow tips and recycled tactics. What people crave now are coaches who see their clients fully, leaders who build solutions that respect worldview, teachers who don't just give knowledge, but unlock perspective. You don't just sell change, you facilitate evolution. You are the bridge. If you've made it this far, you're not just a student of spiral dynamics and colors of influence, you're becoming a translator of human development. You're the coach who sees beyond the surface. You're the leader who builds for where people are, not just where you want them to be. And you're the messenger who no longer needs everyone to understand them, because you understand them. The future belongs to the integrated, the ones who don't pick a side, but build the spiral.